I've heard some people say Green Party's against cars and wants to uninvent the car. That's not true. Personally, I actually like driving a car. But I think we could be a lot smarter about the way we make use of motor cars in the city. I think a decent city in the future will be recognised as one where most people believe they don't need to own a car. And that's good, because in our city, which is a lot of poverty, we're never ever going to be able to provide a car for every family. There will always be people who will be left out of a transport system that's based on the private car. So we'll do better than that. We'll find ways of actually sharing cars. There are things called car clubs which enable people to have the use of a car without having to own one. And we'll make sure that the streets are based around the needs of other transport users first. Streets will be safe for walking. There'll be less traffic. They'll be safe for people to cycle. People will get the benefit of cycling as a direct point-to-point transport and get the fitness and health benefits of that. So I see a city with fewer cars, possibly a city though with more drivers. The freedom to drive a car when you need one should be much more widely available than it is now. And that's something you don't expect to hear from the Green Party perhaps. How do we make public transport better for people so that there's a good alternative to using a private car? This is tricky, it's very difficult, but we need to make it happen. One way is what's happened in London, where buses and public transport generally are controlled by the mayor. Now in Liverpool, that's not the case. I would take part of the city deal negotiated by the Labour administration back to government and say, well, we've got a mandate to do things differently. We need you to change that deal. We need you to let us regulate the buses so we can control the frequency and the service and also the fares. And if more people use the buses, that makes the economics of bus travel better. And that in turn can lead to lower fares. We can do something about bus fares. Cycling to school or walking to school is also part of the answer. So many people feel that the only safe way they can get their children to school is in the motor car, and that of course makes it less safe for other people. If we're in a city where most of the streets and most of the neighbourhoods around schools, the traffic moves slowly, people will have the confidence that they can walk, or the children can walk, older children can walk independently to school, children can cycle, families can cycle together. So we will reduce the amount of traffic involved in the school run. Everybody wins if we can do that. We need to consider as part of our transport issues what do we do with air travel. We've got an airport in Liverpool and it has grown, and that's created jobs. So we don't want to do anything that's going to put that growth at risk precipitately. But I think gradually the airport will need to change. It'll need to change partly because we're going to see less flying over the future years, partly because of the climate effects of air flight, partly because of the resource constraints of air fuel, the peak oil phenomenon. Air flight is going to get more expensive whether we like it or not. In the short term, we need to get our airport better connected. I would like to see a rail link connecting our airport, Manchester Airport, and the two cities, and perhaps the two airports working together. I'd like to see long-haul Atlantic traffic concentrated in Liverpool and move away from the low-cost holiday traffic, which I think is going to be the first element of traffic to dry up as the economics of airports and air travel starts to contract. One question for transport, rail transport, is the high-speed link from Birmingham northwards, and High Speed 2 is now being planned. Actually, I see this as a threat to Liverpool's prosperity. And the reason it's a threat for us is because Manchester is planned to get the link first. Liverpool is planned to get the link maybe, or maybe not at all, and certainly not for a long time afterwards. Now, if you're the kind of business person who thinks quick journeys to London are important, you're going to prefer to locate in Manchester because you'll know they would get the link to London instead of Liverpool, and certainly sooner than Liverpool. So I see this as a reason for us to oppose High Speed 2 now, and certainly to oppose it travelling further north than Lichfield when that time comes. Instead, this resource should be spent on better connectivity for Liverpool. Liverpool and other cities need to be better connected to each other. Liverpool used to have direct rail services to Scotland. It doesn't have that now. It used to have direct rail services to the south coast of England for holidays. It doesn't have that now. These are better ways to spend what are going to be very scarce resources on infrastructure projects like rail. So HS2 is not good for Liverpool, and I oppose it.